Let it rip, Tater Chip.
Well, so then the first one is from J-O-B, not Job, just J-O-B. Isn't Jannik Sinner the big winner from the spring? He gets a few months off, doesn't miss a major, and everyone else except for Mensik seems to be taking on damage.
I don't know that you're ever a winner when you get suspended for 3 months. How I would counter that would be, do you think Jannik Sinner would say it's ideal to not be playing tennis? Now, retrospect is easy. You can easily say, look at what happened in Indian Wells and Miami, no harm done. You don't know that when you're moving forward. Like you kind of have to make the best decision for the moment in time. Now, will he look back in a year and a half and say, you know what, that was decent. I played a pretty heavy schedule, 2 majors. Was there a benefit to it? Yeah, possibly, maybe. I don't hate the premise of the question, but even with what's happened last month, if you would have told Jannik Sinner right now, hey, you can go back in time, get in your time machine, no suspension, play those tournaments, and he would say, you know what, that's probably better. Now, what's going to happen is it's one of two things. He's not going to play as well in Rome, the French Open, which, by the way, it's not his best surface. So we're going to overreact to whatever the result is for Jannik Sinner when he comes back. We're going to say, oh, that really hurt him if he loses in the quarters of Rome. No, that kind of could have happened if he makes the semis of Roland Garros. Now, that probably could have happened. Or if he somehow wins Rome, it's like, see, it was great for him. No, he's just the best player in the world. So any result is on the table. What do you think, JW?
Yeah, I think that's well said. I mean, look, if given the circumstance, if you said you could go to 2025, not win a match, or you could have a 3-month doping suspension and all these questions called about your credibility and your sort of status in the locker room. This is not an ideal situation. Let's not gloss over that. I do think the points, the point taken by the questioner. I mean, you read that PTPA lawsuit, and what is it all about? It's all about finding rests in the schedule, and it's all about the players are overworked and the calendar's a mess. And here's a guy who's gotten 90 days off and can come in fresh and doesn't miss a major. I think what you said is a really good point too. I mean, let's answer that question after we see how he fares in a few of these events back. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. You come back from a suspension like this, and you're eager to proceed. The doping had nothing to do with it. I want to win Roland Garros and extinguish any doubt. It's not the easiest circumstances to come back from, but no, I mean, yes, the truth is his ranking has not gone down, in part because the rest of the field is not necessarily capitalized on his absence. I think if you gave him a choice between a doping suspension and not a doping suspension and taking on a lot of defeats, he would choose the defeats. But it is interesting that the guy who's out for 90 days is getting some rest, and his ranking is not suffering for it.
The counter,
how's that for equivocating?
The counter is, if he comes back and wins Roland Garros, like,
I mean, people are going to be like, oh,
I don't care what people are going to be like. The locker room is going to be like, this is.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because last week's show, we talked a little bit, and I made the point that if, this is the best time to have been 15 or 20 in the world in the last 25 years. People are like, but we followed it up with a massive part of that, this little moment in time going into Roland Garros is Sinner's suspension. And in the comments, people are like, well, it's because of Sinner's suspension. Yeah, no, we got there. Yeah, we got there. So it is a huge thing. I think it's nice that he's coming back for him. It's nice that he's coming back in Rome. There is some space between when you're going back to Roland Garros, but I don't know that I can say he's going to be more prepared or more rested for Roland Garros on the heels of not having played 2 tournaments that are on his best surface. Now, what will be curious is moving forward with this 3-month gap. To your point, JW, schedule's too busy. Maybe he takes parts of this 3 months, right? Maybe it's I play Indian Wells, Miami. I don't play Monte Carlo. I get a later start. I buy myself a month during the clay court season to refresh. So I actually think this experience might be a good learning tool. And maybe you take the good parts of it with the rest, and maybe you create a hybrid with what you would normally do, which is playing a full schedule, but we'll see.
So not only, I mean, he's banned, he can't show up at these events, right? I mean, he's not like hitting on a practice court and then just not entering the draw. I mean, he's completely in some sort of isolation. What do you think this does, if anything, in terms of his ability to practice? I mean, it's not like he's having hits with any other player, and I don't think anyone's sort of leaving their schedule and going to the Italian Alps to go hit with him. Does it matter that he's not? There's not a top 200 guy on the other side of the net from him for 90 days.
Yes. You know, we used to, when I was in Austin, Texas, obviously there weren't a ton of pro players when I was playing, so you'd have to fly people in just so you could hit a similar ball. And I would practice with some people who were, you know, top 200, but I always use the term, maybe they're top 200 because maybe they're not top 50 because they don't move well. But I was obsessed with getting that ball, right? That heavy ball. You can't replace that. You know, someone that hits the ball like they're top 50, but maybe they got the yips on the serve or something else. But I wanted that pace of shot. Weirdly, if I was Sinner and I'm looking at kind of the layout of what you're talking about, JW, the perfect person to maybe have brought in for 2 weeks at a time, 4 weeks at a time during this suspension, someone that can still play at a top 50, 60 level would have been someone like an Andy Murray, fresh off tour, can hit a big ball, can play extended points. You know, I got to think as soon as this comes down, my mind would have automatically gone, and we don't know what he's doing. It's very private. He's not the person that's going to post a bunch of stuff about, you know, his process during this, but I would have gone instantly to find people that were borderline top 100 that had retired in the last 6 months. And that's who I would have tried to train with. I would have tried to find someone just off tour.